Johnson, Des Moines County Auditor.
Good morning. I just want to thank Mr. Bob Martin. He put in a letter to the editors on July the 9th, and for a ballot, call the auditor. It was a short and sweet little letter to the editor. It says the Secretary of State cannot send Iowa voters an application for the November elections. To obtain an application for an absentee ballot, call the county auditor. The Des Moines County Auditor's phone number is 319-753-8232. Short and sweet.
Free advertisement.
Yes, free advertisement. We'll take that. So far, and we've had quite a few request forms coming in so far since we've started taking those on July the 6th. We've had 242 requests that we've received so far. As long as I'm proud of the voters, so as long as they just keep sending those in.
When can start absentee voting? How much earlier than the election?
We can't send out the ballots until October the 5th.
October the 5th. And when can they start?
And that's when in-person voting also.
So in other words, if you send it out the 5th, they can vote in person on the 5th or in person the same day they get it.
Well, if we mail them the ballot, anybody that requests one to be mailed, it will be sent out in the mail on October the 5th. But anybody that has not requested one, they can come in and vote at the counter, starting in person on October 5th.
Yeah.
So, but most likely, if they came up there, the system's going to tell us that they've already requested one, and just assume that they don't plan on waiting for their mailed ballot. We just assume that they would. But yeah, there's always that option. You can either have it mailed to you, or you can vote in person before the election. So we hope and encourage as many as possible to vote absentee, because we still don't know what November is going to bring. So we are encouraging everybody, as many as possible, and probably September and October, I might put the absentee request form in the papers, so then that way that'll be another form of advertisement. People can cut that out of the paper, and it will have all the other information that they can go to our website to print one off to, or they can always call us. We get calls. We've been getting several calls during the day, and we've been sending out several request forms every day. So
maybe you can get that guy to include it in another letter. Going that way.
But we really appreciated his little letter to the editor. That was nice and polite. We appreciate it. So anyway, we're just working away on elections, and real estate's busy, and Carol's working on everything to get all the tax levies and all that stuff in there, so we can get ready to get everything rolled over to the treasurer for the next wonderful event of sending out tax statements. So we're slowly getting there.
Thanks, Terry. On your IT.
Just keep busy like always. Just a reminder for all the department heads, if you can, try to have them come in our office, take our security assessment. Other than that, nothing really good for us.
I got that taken when you sent it again. Brian Carter, Secondary Roads.
Good morning. Just a quick project update. Mediapolis Road, they're moved over to the West Bridge, so they'll start forming that up today, actually, probably yesterday. So a little slower than one would hope, but that's kind of typical for construction projects that are moving along. Gear Avenue, hopefully, if the weather plays nice, might open Friday, or it'll be early next week. So I can't commit to Friday 100% because a couple of things that need to be done can't be done during rain, and they've got rain in for Wednesday and for possibly for Friday. So we will see on that, but that is good news. And things are kind of buttoning up. Upper Flint is still going. It's a work in progress. They were moving concrete yesterday. I think that's caught a few people off guard, but it'll be a vast improvement. So, other than that, we're ditching still down south of Burlington. That's actually a really nice looking project. We're done. It needed it. Drainage is well improved. So, just moving along. Still working on some shop plans, trying to get some stuff together to bid out for that, and going from there. Some transition in the office. Our new office manager will start tomorrow.
first to piggyback off of that with, looking at regional, transportation, projects that, figure it's worth noting that, Highway 9, the old 99 bridge up in Wapello is gonna have a ribbon cutting later this week. So that's a significant impact for the region having that open once again. Apart from that, in terms of land use, I had one thing I wanted to mention, but it relates to the agenda item, for the, boards, the zoning boards. I'll wait till we get to that point.
You had nothing to do with the music accompanying you.
Where that come from?
That was Zach, that's teamwork.
I was wondering, I could play a little country if you're not playing music.
We're down one in our office, or I would have walk-up music also.
Who's,
I got, first one on here, I got, Chris Lee from, Conservation.
Chris Lee, Conservation.
Good morning. Just a couple quick updates for you. Last week, in light of Burlington schools canceling their summer schools, we did decide to go ahead and cancel the remainder of our summer camps for the year. We had kind of set that as a trigger point. As long as Burlington schools were still operating their in-person summer schools, we felt comfortable having camps. When that changed, we felt we needed to follow suit. So our summer camps have been canceled for the year, for the summer anyway, and we will continue to adapt as necessary in light of this whole situation. As far as field goes, our parks continually remain busy. Our field team is out doing some trail work this week. We're trying to get our perimeter trail at Big Hollow opened up, get the shoulders cut back to make that trail a bit more accessible. The vegetation's really prolific and really closed in a lot this year. And then we do have all of the docks out right now at our boat ramps except for Tama, and that one is going out today. We've got a couple repairs to do on some of the docks while they're out as well. So we'll be going around trying to get that done, and we will keep our fingers crossed that the river stays down and continually trickles down the way it's projected to, and that this rain forecast doesn't change that. Last year, I think we had Tama's dock out for a sum total of 4 days for the season because the river was so high. So if we go and put that out today and the river comes up, I guess you'll know why. And that is all.
Thanks, Chris.
Matt Warner, Des Moines County Assessor.
Matt Warner, Des Moines County Assessor.
He's muted on his end.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I don't have anything right now. I have a couple items for the agenda.
And I will have a couple questions about those items, so don't go away.
Okay, stand by.
Thanks, Matt.
Janelle Nally Longquist, Des Moines County Treasurer.
Janelle Nellie Longquist, Des Moines County Treasurer.
Janelle, you're muted on your side as well. For some reason, the WebEx doesn't allow me to mute you or unmute you. I'll come back to her here in a second. I have Zach James, land use on here.
Whoops, here's. What? Zach James, land use.
I think he was just gonna listen in. I don't know if he had anything else.
Well, thanks for the music, Zach.
Yeah, thanks for the music. Turn it off. Zach, still on mute, too? Okay.
Janelle, were you able to get yourself unmuted? I saw her unmute for a second.
We'll come back to you, Janelle. Anybody else?
That's all.
That's all. Janelle?
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Good morning. We're just keeping busy. I really have nothing new to report.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Got
out, everybody. COVID-19 update. Krista isn't here. We've got Emergency Operations Center meeting this afternoon. That'll be the first one we've had in 2 weeks. We expect it to be brief. Moines County's doing very well. I believe that there's 102 positive tests, but we have 80-some recoveries. Had 2 deaths earlier, and I think we might have 1 hospitalization. So, according to the state website. So, we're expecting the meeting this afternoon to be brief, just an update.
How many negative tests?
I tell you what, about less than 10% are positive. So if they've got 100 tests, that would mean that there's it's 1,000.
I assume the ones that are testing think there's something wrong with them.
Well, they would have originally. You had to have to get tested. You not only had to have symptoms. I think you had to be over belong to an age group, and now anybody that wants to get tested can go out and go through out at the hospital. But so I don't remember the exact number. It might be well under 10% for Moines County. It might be closer to 3 or 4%. But I would have to cheat and go look at the website for you. I would be happy to do that after the meeting if you want. Anyway, things seem to be going okay. And we discussed last week, that I talked to the chief judge about the screener. And anyway, and he agreed we didn't need the screener down there. It was tough for us to manage if we just had a sign that said "Do not enter." And we've got some masks down there. I told them don't set a box of them out. Or they scattered somewhere around. I haven't heard anything that we've been losing, having trouble keeping masks out there. Maybe we had.
I sent you an email today that I got from juvenile.
Okay.
Because obviously people are confused and they're standing there and yelling hello for somebody to come out and answer. And I think she's had contact with the health or maintenance a couple of times to restock the masks because people are using them. I think Rodney said maybe the first day they might have put out 200. I can't remember. So he's trying to keep it stocked when he's able to when he's in the building.
I think the sign's similar to ones I've seen elsewhere. It just says, please do not enter if you have a fever, if you've been exposed, or those half dozen questions that they always ask.
Yeah, I think they revised the signs so that,
Yeah,
you know,
I'm pretty sure the
we
guns.
read that, but people must still be standing at the table expecting somebody to come
I'll
out.
get them.
They are. When I
Okay.
came in this morning, there was 3 of them standing.
Maybe we need a clarification on the sign or another sign that said, please do not enter, and and then proceed to the office. We've got business.
You could put a road closed sign up, that guarantees that they'll walk on by.
Have you got? Have you got any ideas?
Yeah, I'm sure we can work it out.
Put some yellow tape there, and they go right underneath there.
Yep.
Put a little bowl of water over there too.
Okay, well,
But anyway, that just needs to be clarified or
yeah, we
something.
need to,
Obviously, when they say do not enter, they're stopping and waiting for somebody.
wait for
to come
somebody.
in.
They don't get the gift.
Mhm.
Okay.
Rodney said he wants to roll 200 masks Friday.
Anyway, much of the staffing, it'll have to, I don't know what we'll do when they get to the middle of September when they want to start jury trials. So, I don't think that the state's decided exactly what they're gonna do about that. Correspondence. Either of you gentlemen have correspondence?
No.
We got a letter from Great River Medical Center, Board of Supervisors, according to section 405 of the loan agreement between Des Moines County, Iowa and Great River Medical Center, the borrower agrees that it will annually, on or before August 15th of each year, furnish the issuer with a statement of the principal amount of the bonds outstanding as of the immediately preceding June 30th. According to our records, the principal amount of the Health Facilities Revenue Bond Series 212A was $18 million, and the outstanding principal amount of the Health Facilities Bonds Series 212B was $9,473,684.21 as of June 30th, 2020. If you have any questions, please feel free to call Brenda Lohman, Sincerely Great River Medical Center. You guys might remember a few years ago, we acted as a conduit. They call them conduit bonds, and we allowed the hospital to put on that addition, and they got there was no liability to Des Moines County, but that made the bonds tax-free, so that the interest, the people that buy the bonds, they don't have to pay federal tax or state taxes. So, anyway, this will be on file, available for public review. The auditor's office. We have payroll reimbursement claims, $1,997.34. Terry? I'm sorry. Terry?
Bob Beck,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. We have a resolution approving appointment to the Des Moines County Zoning Board of Adjustment. If no one has any objections, I won't read the whole resolution, but appointing Mitch Tager to the Zoning Board of Adjustment. I believe this is a reappointment.
This is basically, it's looking at the whole issue of the state code amendment pertaining to eligibility to serve on a Board of Adjustment or the Zoning Commission, which in this case, there were 3 members, 2 for the Zoning Commission and 1 for the Board of Adjustment who lived outside the 2-mile area. And based on the original wording of that amendment in state code, I would no longer be eligible to serve on the county zoning board. So based on that subsequent amendment later in the month, after we worked with that representative to have that further amendment placed in another legislation, that changes it so that it merely requires that members can live anywhere in the county but outside the corporate limits of any city. So this is just these 2 resolutions, one for Board of Adjustment and one for Zoning Commission, essentially just affirming that 2 of those 3 are still eligible to continue serving, which in the case of the Board of Adjustment, I don't think is quite as significant. We hadn't had a meeting since March, but for the Zoning Commission, we had a meeting in the interim between those 2 legislations being signed. So this is just to affirm that both Dick Keith on the Zoning Commission and Mitch Tager on the Board of Adjustment would be eligible to continue serving out the remainder of the term that they've already been appointed for. So I think it's really just a precaution, but just an acknowledgement of the unusual circumstances of the past couple of months, and essentially just affirming that those 2 are still eligible to serve. I will note, however, that the resolution for the Zoning Commission does include a reference to the 3rd position for Sally Parrott, who unfortunately, because she resides in the city, within the limits of City of Burlington, would no longer be eligible to serve even under the amended language. So that this just also affirms that position has been vacated as a result of this. And what I wanted to mention earlier, just to extend off of that, is that we do have that position that's vacant now, and we are looking for a replacement. And I just wanted to make note of that, since we've had several positions turn over in the past year, so it's been a bit of a challenge finding people. In this case, we aren't restricted to the 2-mile area, so especially given that 5 of the 6 currently serving members of the commission are within that area. It may make more sense to look for someone outside that 2 mile, but in particular, we'd prefer to have a woman in this position, since Sally before this change, Sally was the only female representative on either one of these boards. So specifically, we are looking for someone in the unincorporated Des Moines County, preferably a woman, preferably outside the 2 mile, and anybody with some kind of experience with real estate, land use, government, something along those lines professionally. Would that kind of experience and that background would be helpful. But anybody who would be interested, would be welcome to consider. So just wanted to put that out there, that we have that one position left to fill. But apart from that, this resolution is basically just affirming that those other 2 members are still eligible to continue serving.
We have a resolution confirming the board approval of Mitch Tager on the county board of adjustment.
Move to approve. Second.
Terry?
Bob Beck,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes.
We probably have meetings the same time as these.
No, it's the evening. Did you live in a city or? Oh, okay.
But I have no real estate.
Well, I just gave that as an example. So.
He's just about to set the hook.
I just
Give it a little tug here. More music. Okay, we have a resolution confirming the board appointment of Richard Keith and the ineligibility of Sally Parrott to serve on the zoning commission. Second. Terry?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Bob Beck,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. Okay, we have Matt, you there?
I think that.
You unmuted yourself. She's unmuted, yeah. Oh, good for you. Okay. Okay, we have approval of the Des Moines County Homestead military exemptions.
Yeah, you should have both the Homestead and the Homestead military applications. Those are going to the new ones for this year. I believe there was a couple that were denied. We always have to accept them. Anytime somebody fills out a grant form like that, we have to accept the form, but then verify that they've met the requirements. In the case of the Homestead credit, I believe they just hadn't purchased the property by July 1st, so that's why they didn't qualify. The other property, the military exemption, we did not have a DD 214 on the record with the county, but that's why they didn't qualify for that. But pretty standard stuff.
So let me ask you, these, the 2 that you recommend we deny, the military exemption and the homestead tax, they are or are not included on these lists?
They should not be on this list.
They are not on those lists, okay.
Right.
Okay. Do we need,
In the case of the Homestead credit, they'll be able to apply for next year. They just didn't own the property by the July 1st deadline. But they filled out the application
subject to that, so. And then same thing with the military, if that property owner does get his DD 214 on the record, recorded with the recorder, then he would be able to qualify for it.
Okay, we need to, does the board disallow this?
Yes,
So the board would disallow both of these?
correct.
Okay, before we approve those,
They're not put on the agenda like that.
well, it's approval of the homestead credits and military exemptions.
I
So,
understand that.
so if we don't disapprove it, then we would be approving it. Cause it says right here that this is a homestead tax credit and it's got allowed or disallowed.
Yeah, and those won't be on the list that you saw. That's the only reason you're seeing them. Everything else would qualify. Those two just don't qualify, so we'd have to disallow it since they actually did turn in the form.
If we allow it, then we've approved it, right, Matt?
Or are you?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Recommendation?
Well, I'm just, no, it doesn't say, it says we allow this exemption or we don't allow this exemption.
It's what I understood Matt say, that they're not on this list.
Yes.
If they're not on that list, and if we approve that list, we have to disapprove or disallow these, would they have to be on that list, don't they?
Yeah, so you're disapproving those two, and then everything on the list you can approve.
The list will vote for as a list. These are separate from the list.
Yeah, because they're the only ones that didn't qualify.
They didn't qualify, so he did not put them on the list.
Right.
But if we want to, allow them anyway, that's apparently acceptable. So I was gonna, call a vote on these first. Does that work for you guys?
On the homestead credit?
On the ones that recommended we disallow.
I'd vote to disallow those.
Are you making a motion to disallow the two, the one homestead credit that was filed too late and the military exemption because there was not a DD 214 filed?
I'll second that.
Okay. Terry?
Bob Beck?
Yes.
Jim Carrey?
Yes.
Tom Broker?
Yes. Want this stamped refused? Refusing your, the application would be refused, right, Matt?
Correct.
Okay, so we would stamp refused on those.
Matt, do you send them a letter that explaining why?
Yeah, I think Terry and I talked about that. That's something, Terry, that the supervisors would send in, or I don't think we've sent that in the past.
I know
But
on,
I mean, I could provide an example or something.
I know on family farm credits that's been denied, we had to send out a letter, so I had to
Yeah.
send out, the board had to, so. We'll see what form we need to send out.
I mean, I can assist with that letter, but I think ultimately it would need to come from the supervisors.
We're the ones that finally disallowed, so yeah, it would come from.
So if you need any assistance with that, I can help out with that.
Thanks, Matt.
Mhm.
Okay, so we have approval of the homestead credits and military exemptions.
Move to approve. Second.
Terry?
Bob Beck?
Yes.
Jim Carrey?
Yes.
Tom Broker?
Yes. Okay. We have the same issue here on the disabled veterans exemptions. Matt?
It's similar. I mean, you'll have a list
oh, okay, oh, you have them added and removed 2020, that's fine. Okay, so we need to, vote to disallow the one the applicant you're recommending we disallow.
Yes. Unfortunately, they didn't qualify.
Qualified. Ask recommendation.
Terry?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Bob Beck,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. I looked at that list several times, Matt, and somehow managed to not see where it said removed. Okay, we have the, list of the disabled veterans exemptions.
Move to approve.
Second. Terry?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Bob Beck,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. Okay, and we have the approval of the assessor's 2020 business property tax credits.
Yeah, you have a list of all the new applicants that were taken in. I believe the only one that would be denied was property that changed in classification. It was a commercial property, it changed to residential. So the business property tax credit is only for commercial class property, and since it was reclassed to residential, it would not qualify.
Okay, so we have a disallowed property that's been reclassified and does not qualify.
Move to approve. Second.
Okay, move it, in other words, we're moving to approve, disallow. Right.
Just that one.
Disallow, okay.
Call for the vote.
Oh, yeah. Terry?
Bob Beck,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. Got me entirely confused here. Okay, so now we have the, business property tax credit lists for approval.
That would be the ones that they
Yep. I believe we've got 2 copies of this. Now,
could be. Might be the one to sign and just an extra copy. I'm not sure.
Okay, it might be different properties. Oh, that's, okay, no, we've got the applications and the removals.
Okay.
Some of them removed and replaced. Okay.
Move to approve the list.
Okay.
Second.
Terry?
Bob Beck,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes.
Matt? Matt, you haven't changed your phone number, have you?
What's that?
You haven't changed your phone number, have you?
No.
Good. In case we get any repercussion on this, I just wanna make sure I knew who to send them to.
Nope, absolutely. And I'll help Terry if you guys need a letter or anything for those denials. I can assist with that.
Thanks, Matt. If you've got letters that have most of the information spelled out, that would be great.
Sure.
Thanks, Matt.
All right, thank you.
Garage Compliance Solutions Update and Agreement Renewal. That would be Roger. Welcome back to Des Moines County, Roger.
Well, thank you. Glad to see you're opening up.
Me too.
Okay, so we're here to talk about, give you an update on what's going on and then talk about a renewal. So what we're gonna cover today, so I'm calling news you can use. These are some relevant items around HIPAA that you'd be interested in. We're gonna talk about the on-demand training in our cloud-based report, how the county is doing on getting their compliance training done. Talk briefly about the audit management program, where we are, the attestation materials which we provide at the end of each year, and then the upcoming renewal, which actually is passed, but that's okay. So first thing I want to talk about is Dallas County in November had a breach of their data. It was about 4,800 people. Iowa Department of Human Services actually had the breach, which in some sense was fortunate for Dallas County, because since it was a governmental agency, they're not liable for the breach. If it had been a private organization, the county can be held liable for the information that's been breached.
So it was a personnel of the Iowa Department of Human Services that
They're the one that caused the breach. Yeah.
dropped the ball.
Yeah, so what happened was, the documents contained income maintenance and social work cases. What happened was a contracted custodial company mistakenly emptied boxes of documents to be shredded into a dumpster, and the dumpster was emptied before anybody realized what had happened, so the breach couldn't be remediated, but it's clearly a breach of almost 5,000 records. That kind of information.
Those were 5,000 shredded records.
It would have been 5,000 records to be shredded.
To be shredded.
Yes, but instead they were thrown in a dumpster. So it was a people and process issue, actually a training issue. And you can see the kind of information that was on there, besides PPI, personal protected information, like driver's licenses, bank and wage information. There was PHI, disability, medical, Medicaid, mental health, which is doubly onerous because mental health falls under a whole set of other regulations. Same thing with substance abuse and illegal drug use and prescription drug information. So this was a substantial breach of information. Will, I suspect, end up being a substantial fine and penalty. Fines and penalties are starting at the federal level now at about $50,000 per incident. I'm suspecting this one will go much higher. The fact that it was almost 5,000 records, it was over 500, means that it's reported to the media, which is how we found out about it. Okay, and then this is just a statement.
Who's liable for the 50K?
In this case, it would be DHS. If it had been a private company, so for example, if the county was using a billing company or their IT service provider, or private custodial service who did the same thing, then the county ends up being liable, along with what we call a business associate, someone who's working with the information on the county's behalf. So in this case, because DHS is a governmental agency, there's no liability at the county level. But so I say they were fortunate in that way.
Question. So they're gonna steal DHS records.
These were county records that DHS had.
Okay, so why would anybody want to steal those records?
Well, basic identity information like driver's license, age, phone number, address.
Just so they
Black
can
market.
ID.
Black market, that goes for about $5 a record.
Nice.
A medical record, which is what this was, on the black market goes for about $300 a record.
Really?
So think about 5,000 records at $300. There's a significant economic incentive to get this information. And you'll see here that they talk about the requirement to do refresher or additional training. So this is a breach that occurred because of inadequate training. And we're going to get to that in a moment. Next one I want to point out is Worth County, Iowa. This was back in 2017, where someone was impersonating public health officials, going door to door, trying to sell or collect medical information, sell treatment equipment, and in some cases, stealing drugs from the home. Right? This per se wouldn't be a breach if it were just randomly someone going out and soliciting this information from the public. My suspicion is that this was actually targeted because there was a breach of the public health department's information. And the reason I say that is that essentially the same time, the same thing was happening in Cerro Gordo County. So my suspicion is that public health was breached, this information was available, and people were using it to try and perpetrate frauds on the citizens. And just, I don't have it on this, but in the last week, we had two of our clients for Iowa counties report privacy incidents to us. One will be a reportable breach. The other turns out to be just an internal issue. It's a violation of HIPAA, but not something that's going to open up for fines and penalties. So the point of this is these are happening. We need to be cognizant that there is information that's getting out inappropriately disclosed, and we need to make doubly sure that's not happening in the county. And I'll talk about that a little bit more. The next thing I want to talk about is secondary roads. One of the challenges we always have is well, does HIPAA apply to all the different departments? And so this is a letter that one of our secondary roads departments for one of our clients received. This was in January. I redacted the relevant information. But basically, this went out to the county engineer, essentially saying that there was an individual who has a chronic medical illness with the potential to become acutely medical stable, and we want to know that respond if there's a call to you to get the roads open. If the road needs to be plowed because of snow, if there's construction going on or grading going on, this road needs to be open because it's medically unstable individual. For our purposes today, what I want to point out is this was all protected health information on the previous sheet. So that even someone like secondary roads is having to address the handling of PHI, protected health information. So, you know, it's a challenge sometimes to talk with the counties about which departments do and don't need to be worried about PHI. And so this is an example where we can demonstrate that in fact secondary roads needs to be concerned. The next item I want to talk about is a response to a complaint. This again is one of our clients. One of the citizens in their county complained that the county was not appropriately storing protected health information. They submitted a complaint to HHS, Human and Health Services, who oversees HIPAA. And so they generated this letter around the complaint. This is called essentially technical guidance. They did a nominal investigation of the complaint, then generated this letter that says we in fact oversee HIPAA under OCR, Office for Civil Rights. And this complaint came in. We've investigated it. This is why we are in charge of it, pursuant to the authority. We've determined to resolve the matter informally through the provision of technical assistance, which is basically saying, take a look at the information, you know, around this complaint, which is good news, right? And I'll talk about that in a second. But it does put them on the OCR's radar for a period of 6 months. So if another complaint is filed, if there's an investigation through an audit or a breach that's self-reported, the regulatory agency will take a closer look at in this case, the county. This letter is, when we have a breach, is what we want to have happen. This technical guidance, it's kind of a slap on the wrist. It's a realization the regulatory agencies won't let you off scot-free, but in this case, there's no fines or penalties. So we expect this kind of letter to come through, and that's what we're actually looking to get. So this is a, be careful in the future, but no harm, no foul. Review your policies, train your people, and we'll all move forth and prosper. So again, everything that we do is targeted at getting this kind of letter when we have a breach, because we can't keep all breaches from occurring. So our objective when we talk about what we do is to assure the county will never pay fines, penalties, or be part of a civil suit around the breach. So let's move on to the on-demand training. So this report I'm going to show you in a moment is updated as of the 10th. Everybody has a link to run this report at any time. If you don't have it and you want it, you can shoot me an email and we'll get you the link, show you how to put it on your desktop. So you can just click on it and run the report automatically. And this is a copy of the report. This is the high-level version of the report. So this is showing results for the whole county. If you're looking at this on your computer, you can drill down by department, you can drill down by date, you can drill down by user, and you can see who hasn't taken the training. What I want to focus you in on is the lower right-hand corner of that number 30.55%. That means out of all the training that we've launched for the county, we've only had about 31% of the county employees actually finish the training, which puts you on our ranking of our clients down at the bottom.
Right. And I remember, well, I assume it was last year when you were here, we discussed a couple things. One of it is I know that people have started the training and have trouble continuing, getting back after you've contributed wasn't that part of the problem?
After they get done with it, it doesn't show that they completed the training.
They've completed a portion of the
Twice,
training.
done some of it twice, if not more.
Anyway, and we were gonna, that was gonna be addressed, and to my understanding, that's still a problem.
Well, so let me address that.
Okay.
The way I addressed it last time. It is a design flaw in those old training modules, in that you have a choice of, are you going to hit next or you can hit submit? And people are hitting next to go on to the next training without hitting submit, so the system doesn't know that the training's actually been completed. So when this first came up, the way to fix that is to shoot us an email, give us a call, and we can go in the back end and give credit, right? It's a very simple thing for us to do. All the new trains come out, we redesign them, so that's not a problem. So you'll never see the submit versus next. You'll be required to submit to move on. So that problem will go away. But in the interim, it literally takes a phone call or an email, and it takes us 30 seconds to solve. We go in the back end, we make sure that people actually have taken the course, because while I don't expect it to ever happen, theoretically someone would say, well, I took the course and they never did. But we can check and see, and then we give them credit, and they get their certificate, they get an email, they're never bothered by it again.
Okay. There was also discussion for at least a couple of departments, you recall that there was gonna be some in-person training.
Conservation and secondary roads.
Conservation.
All of Brian's guys don't have access to the computer.
Right, so.
I didn't know if that's, we working on something like that, or was the COVID interrupt?
I think you were working on that right before.
And then the COVID hit, so that's an option for us to do.
And I understand with the COVID hit, but I remember discussing that before, that there's a couple of departments that,
Right.
that's unhandy for them. It would be great if we could have an in-person
Yeah,
training.
that's fine. Have Steph get a hold of you, we'll schedule it as soon as you guys are ready to do kind of a group thing. We've done a couple of other things, by the way, because some folks are still having problems logging onto the training. Their computers can't handle the overhead for a variety of reasons. So the first week of every month, we're now doing online training using WebEx. So all the overhead for the training is on our machine. So anybody who has a computer can log on, and they can get the training without all the problems they're having with their machine to get the training to run. So the next ones are going to occur here beginning of August 5th and 6th. And you can see we have 4 different sessions. to get those training numbers up. So between this and the redesign of the training and the ability for us to schedule in-person training, we can go ahead and get those numbers up and not have any reasons why the training shouldn't be occurring. But we do need to get those numbers up, and so we'll next quarter when we come in just to talk, after having all these things in place, we'll revisit the number. Hopefully it'll be up. Our average client right now is at about 60%, and the goal and our Gold Star clients are up around 80, 90%. So when the county, particularly the supervisors, put their shoulder behind it, we do get the numbers up to where they need to be, because the training is the number one reason why we're going to end up having a breach. And if we don't have our training up to snuff and a breach occurs, we are going to end up with fines and penalties. So we do need to get this training done.
Now, this training that you're gonna be having on WebEx in August, is that same training available?
Yes.
Because I haven't done anything since, the last time I got anything was 7 months ago.
Well, we want to get those numbers up before we launch any new trainings. So as soon as we get the numbers up, we have 3 training courses we can launch. But it doesn't do any good unless we get those numbers higher.
So is there a master list or something showing what's done, who's done what, stuff like that?
This report, I can narrow down and find.
So that report I can,
Yeah,
that I
you can pull that up
supposedly
too.
have a link to.
I'll show you how to work.
Well, or get it to Becky. I would be one. I started into this stuff, and once I did one twice, you about lost me. Because it takes a lot of time as it is when you're trying to dodge phone calls and everything else. So I'm one that has not done. I've done some, not all. I'll be the first to admit it.
So again, we don't want that kind of frustration to happen. So as soon as you have a problem, just pick up the phone and call us.
Well, see, we didn't know that. Back then it was everybody in my office was grumbling all up and down the hall because we were all doing it, and so we'll do what we can. The other thing I want to mention is, of course, my shop guys run equipment. They're never on the computer, so I didn't feel back then it was clear whether they were included statistically or in the requirements or not. Chris, I don't know how much his guys interact both, but I do have 18 guys that don't have, maybe one of them interacts with my sign guy, has interaction with the county computer, so I didn't know how that applied, and I don't remember if we ever finished that or had that conversation.
So to reiterate what we've said in the past, because we did have a conversation, we sent an email, and maybe we should send that email out again, kind of do a restart. But the regulations require that every workforce member have some amount of training.
Okay.
So what we do is we break the training up into 2 different groups. One which is what we call essential. Those are folks that are going to be working with information. And then we have occasional, which is the person who may walk into the office, see something sitting on a desk they shouldn't see.
Okay.
And so they need to get that nominal amount of training so that we're complying with the regulations.
If there's something, and we've added Wi-Fi to our shop, we've got a screen that we use for our safety. We may be able to stream something where I can have the guys in at a certain time and they can watch a video that I don't know, the computer aspect's not gonna work. So we're gonna have to tackle the 18 shop guys in a different manner. You mentioned this online training, that's why it piques my interest, because I could bring them in, I can't guarantee I get 18 that day, but, majority of them, we could schedule a time and do something between 7 and 3:30. So that would be as long as I will have to on my end make sure we can stream it on the TV and everything else. But that would work very well for the shop end of things.
So that's the way most of our county clients do it. For folks like secondary roads, where we have people out, and they're not working with computers, they'll bring them in for an in-service and put the training up on the screen.
Yep.
And then give us a list of who was there.
Yep.
And then we go into the system and give them credit.
Okay, so if we can do it that way, I can bring 15 to 18 people up really quick.
Right.
So, I mean, with schedule and timing and everything, so the address the stuff that's not done, but those guys will never ever do any of that stuff, so we might as well talk about either this, something that we can stream or run a video of to bring that up to speed.
Or we come in, that's what we do in the in-person training, is we'll come in, just like we're doing now, put it up on the screen and go through it. So, we're trying to give you as many options as we can to make sure that it gets done.
I don't care about in person. I mean, if I can put something up there that they're sitting there to watch, we'll handle it during a safety meeting, and it'll just be something else we do. That's what we already do for safety meetings, so that's not abnormal. So.
I will have Steph get a hold of you, how to schedule that.
Ever get a hold of Becky, please? That's better than me.
Well, that's why Steph's doing it, not me.
Yeah. I understand.
She's your Becky.
Yes.
Well,
honesty in this room. So, and we'll certainly do what we need to do, and then, so I wanna make sure I'm understanding, so, and being that I'm one of them that started and never got through all of it, the computer stuff that we already did, we still need to go back and knock that out before, there's not something that's streamed or different or improved to do to go from there. We need to go back to where we were at 7 months ago and keep working in that. Is that correct?
well, if we're gonna do the streaming, or we're gonna come in and do it, we're gonna be covering the same information. So I would, if you're gonna attend that meeting, I wouldn't go back and do it. If you are going back, it should be bookmarked to where you left off.
Okay, well,
So
I'll
you
just have to
go
look.
from there.
I mean, I would probably attend the training, but it sounds like we have some discussion to figure everything out, so we can work that way.
Right.
Thank you.
Any other? Okay, and I'll have Steph get a hold of you, and we'll schedule the in-person training. Typically do it one day, twice in that day, one morning, one afternoon.
Well, in my office, at the computer, each individual computer works fine with us, so, because whenever somebody has time, they go in, and I think ours, my office is at 100%, I think, so.
Okay,
So the individual at the computer works great for a lot of the offices that are in the courthouse. It's the ones that have all the guys out, like the sheriff's department, conservation, and roads, that those guys don't have constant access to the computers. I don't know how the sheriff will handle theirs, but.
I don't know how soon this needs tackled, but if you wanted to do a morning session at our shop, it's not uncommon for us to schedule for conservation just to come over for some sort of special topic. They don't come over for every safety meeting, but you could probably knock out secondary roads and conservation at the same time if we just got the day everybody agreed to it. But if you're trying to do it at the height of their camp season or the height of us right now kind of a thing, it might be challenged, but that would be one way to knock out a bulk, beyond the sheriff's office, a bulk of the employees in the county that are not in an office.
right.
And the board would be welcome if they wished.
I was just sitting there thinking that probably a good deal.
Well, I didn't wanna point it out, but typically our problem department tends to be the board.
Well, we
I'm
can
like you,
always about it.
I started it, it's been a while back and never.
We understand. I thought,
It wouldn't be I'm not pointing fingers at you, but it wouldn't be unusual.
Oh, Brian offers donuts, I'm sure you guys will be out there with flags.
Definitely will make it there.
Well, and I'm happy to coordinate that. We have the room in our shop. We can set up the chairs. I do have to, on my end, make sure if it's something we're streaming, if you're coming in person, then so be it. But if it's something we're streaming, I just need to make sure we are up to that ability, because I don't know that we've done that, so.
Okay,
I gotta point out also that the board also gets attacked by IT guy. Because we answer emails, so we tend to neglect answering emails that we really don't recognize.
Try to keep on my toes.
You're scared to answer anything, so.
I still look at what email you sent. Still got that, so I just delete it.
For the no before security assessment one?
Huh?
For the security assessment? Email?
Say no for?
No before.
No before? Yeah.
doesn't take very long.
That one's okay to open. Okay, next, so we'll talk about the audit report. So under the regulations, we're required to be able to validate that we in fact have implemented all our safeguards and policies and procedures the way we said we were going to in our policies and procedures. So we're working through that. You can see this is a sample of your report. There are two kinds of risks. There's a residual risk, which is have we done a risk assessment? Have we done the remediation? In this case, yes, we're on all of those, because that gives us a low residual risk. Then we have the audit protocol, which is again the validation of are we actually doing what we said we were going to do? And there are two states for that. There's complete and incomplete. Complete means we have validated that in fact we are operating the way we said we were going to, and incomplete means that for a variety of reasons we can't demonstrate that. So if it's complete, the overall risk score is low, and then we get put on a cycle quarterly to go over these. We break it up into quarterly chunks to make it easier for your staff to address. And we do, because of what you hired us for, we do a lot of this ourselves as opposed to your staff. The ones that are incomplete, as you look through these, will be technical and physical safeguards, which is what the high-tech specifications are. Colin and I talked about that before the meeting. He's getting us some information. Once we have that, we should be able to knock these out and take the incompletes and make them complete. As part of this process, now that we're beginning to open up, we are going to go out to each one of the departments and re-interview them and see what their issues are, make sure that they have access to what they need, that we're getting the training done, that we can validate that they in fact are operating the way we say we're going to. We need to do some of this face-to-face, so that'll be the next step. You can see from this that we have it on a schedule to have the incompletes done during this third quarter of 2020, and then the rest of them are broken out into the fourth quarter and then moving on into 2021. And the way we do this, we do it so that as we're doing the audit, we're updating the risk assessment, which is required on an annual basis. We're updating the remediation plan, and we're reviewing policies and procedures. So we're basically killing four birds with one stone the way we do the audit. So it makes it more efficient for you folks and makes it more efficient for us to get you where you need to be, so that we feel confident that you won't have liability for fines, penalties, and small suits. So that's what we're in the process of doing. Any questions about that? Okay, then the attestation material. So we provide these at the end of every year. They're good for a year. And so the first thing that we provided to you was your certificate of attestation. You have copies of these. And basically it just attests that, in fact, you're compliant with the regulations. It's as of the 8th of July, which is the end of your year. You have a copy of this in your.
Tom's got a copy of it.
Tom handles IT for the board, if he wants some advice.
Okay. Well, I can turn this around.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for.
The one,
This is the old school way of doing it, right?
That's what I would do.
Okay, so you have the certificate, which we provided to you. The next thing we have is the letter of compliance, which basically says the same thing the certificate does, that you in fact are compliant with the regulations. This is what we've covered over the year, all the different regulations that are required. And this is useful if someone comes in and wants you to document and demonstrate.
I've got that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I emailed
This?
it, I emailed it to all of you guys. Yep. There's the certificate of attestation,
Attestation, yeah.
and then after that is all the letters and stuff.
And then the last thing that I would provide is the full audit report. Which you also have, but it just, is the legalese that goes behind what I showed you on the presentation. So those are the,
I've got a question on the opinion letter regarding HIPAA compliance.
yes.
Can you pull that up?
Yes.
Okay, you can't put it up there. Anyway, I've just got a question. On that first paragraph, on behalf of Des Moines County Corrections conducted a risk assessment, blah, 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 as amended. Anyway, below that it goes, this opinion relates solely to the locations assessed. Garage Compliance Solutions assessment utilized a questionnaire and methodology aligned with compliance requirements of the healthcare industry. Areas covered in the assessment include those areas described in Appendix A attached. Garage replied on representation from the management of Des Moines County as to the accuracy and completeness of information provided to us in the assessment questionnaire. No testing was performed by Garage to validate the information provided by us to us by Des Moines County. What's that mean?
Well, it means when we did the risk assessment, we asked a series of questions, and we relied
About
on.
what material and stuff we handle and stuff like that, okay.
And so we rely on you being honest with that, which, this is all legalese. I mean, the reality is when we did the remediation, we validated what you had told us. But when, for example, we write a policy and you guys approve it, you know, we're relying on you that we're, you know, that we're honestly approving this and we're not hiding anything.
Okay. I'm just curious, I read it several times and didn't know what it meant.
Well, that's for the lawyers.
Okay, well, God bless them.
Right, exactly.
That's K-Hill, no, no.
Well, he wouldn't have read it. Thank you.
My pleasure. Okay, so now we're on to the renewal. So the renewal date was July 8th. You have contracted with us for the HIPAA expert, which you should have a copy of that letter in there.
I do.
It's exactly the same as what we had last year, except for what we've completed and tasks we're doing into the next year. The program is the same, but we're actually your chief security, chief privacy officer. We take on that liability, and the cost is the same as last year. No changes.
But we need to take action on that.
Yeah, that would be.
I will make a motion. I will second.
Terry?
Bob Beck,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes.
Actually have a second copy, if I gave you to sign that, I'll take with me.
Extra charge for a second copy.
Yeah, well, you'll add that.
Yeah, 25 cents for a copy I made.
He's got two of them signed.
Oh, do you? Okay, we're okay. One enough for you and one enough for us?
Yeah,
Are you through with this then, Roger?
I am.
Can you bring us into air conditioning? Blowing all that hot air right over here.
This is the,
We'll crank that down a little bit again.
what's the date? 14th.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Great chair that was involved. That thing is blowing that hot air out.
Oh, yeah.
Been here for 15 years, Jim, I know his chair to sit in.
Thank you. I know my package was the largest one for your meeting, so I apologize for that.
Well, that's all right, as long as you keep this part, you're not using us as an example up there, next guy.
No.
No, when you do this training for secondary roads, that will, if I go out there, that will bring me up to compliance.
Yes, sir. that's what I keep saying, is you guys would just do the training at a bar one evening.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Boy, you need to join that, wouldn't you?
I don't know. I went through so much of that testing in my other career.
Now, when you're talking about HIPAA, people tend to get rowdy, so.
Is that on the
Yeah.
board you're gonna sit on?
It's a wild
Yeah.
environment.
Yeah, but we get a lot smarter, Roger.
Okay, thank you, Roger.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Thank you, Roger.
Just one copy. You want one copy of this? Okay.
Make sure I filled in everything that's supposed to be filled in there.
Here you go.
There you go.
Very much.
That is his signature, if you can read it, the thing you have is printed.
We appreciate your, continued confidence and, working with you.
Thank you, Roger.
Thank you, Roger. Okay, we have, personnel actions. We have personnel action for the county attorney. Michael Brewer, Assistant County Attorney, resignation. Effective July 16th, 2020.
Move approved. Second.
Terry?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Bob Beck,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. Personnel action for the engineer's office. Julie Winter, Administrative Assistant, retirement, effective July 10th. So she already took off, so she didn't have to face us.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that a little bit. Just wanted to say thank you to Julie. 40, just a little over 40 years. That's a long time for service anywhere. She went through 4 engineers. Clearly ended on the best note, but but no, she deserves a ton of credit. To go through that many engineers and go through that many years and that many headaches and budgets and programs and all sorts of stuff. I'm not gonna go real long.
An engineer to a T.
But she did a great job for Des Moines County. Started down here at the courthouse, I believe, before everything moved out to the office out there.
Yeah.
So anyway, wanted to say thank you to her for all her years. I was fortunate to work with her, and she showed me a lot of ropes when I first started here. This was my first full county engineering gig. So anyway, thank you to her, and I think she's planning on really enjoying retirement. So.
Well, you know, the board said that they wasn't gonna accept her retirement, so one of these other guys is gonna have to make the motion.
I warned her of that.
If I have, I'll make the motion, I'm not gonna face her.
I will just say, I would not want to stand between her and retirement.
It's not gonna be me to get hit by
Somebody
that
better
truck.
make
Did
the
you
first
make the motion, did Mr. Broker? No, I just said and I will, I'm not gonna stand in front of that truck. But I would make that motion with deep regret.
Yes, I'll second that with regret. Well, or thankfulness, probably
Well,
better.
you know,
It's
it's
not
actually-
And we do appreciate it.
It's her credit that we're in good hands. You know, I mentioned
Yeah.
Becky earlier. Becky's
Yeah.
taken her position, and really for 8 years, I want to believe, she's more or less slowly brought Becky into that side of the operation, and so I really do expect it to be a pretty smooth transition, and that's a lot of credit to her. Not everybody functions that way when they head towards retirement.
Well, I talked to her Friday, and she's got a good outlook on retirement, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Yep. If you ask her what she's planning on doing, she said whatever she wants to.
That's just exactly what she said.
And that's the way it should be. So
Well, it's a lot of continuity walking out the door.
it is. There's a lot of history there. It's good for her. That's what I say.
You
You
bet.
can get there and take advantage of it. You should. Too many people don't.
And we just say thank you because
Absolutely.
we benefited.
Yep. Absolutely.
Terry?
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Bob Beck,
Yes.
Jim Carrey.
Yes. Tell her she's retired.
She might be watching. I haven't gotten her text yet, but it would not surprise me.
These gentlemen worked with her the longest, so it was more fitting that they're the ones that sent her. I don't think anybody sends Julie anywhere.
She had a way of doing her job, and I appreciated it every day.
We have a personnel action for the sheriff's office. We have Monica Ryan, promotion from part-time to full-time, starting rate of $26,829.79.
Move approve.
Second. Terry?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Bob Beck,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. Reports, we have the clerk of courts report of fees collected for June 2020 and Veterans Affairs report for June of 2020. Both of these reports will be on file in the auditor's office and available for public review, either in person or electronically. We have minutes for the regular meeting of July 7th, 2020.
Second.
Terry?
Bob Beck,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. Any other business?
I have none.
Future agenda items? Committee reports?
Yeah, I did. Committee.
Board of Health meeting.
Oh, yeah, Board of Health. He's there too.
Thank goodness Colin's here.
Didn't know you'd have to be a secretary, huh?
You should have seen
And
it.
Board of Health's gonna bring you a couple of problems to solve. One of them, I think, is the sunbathers, or,
Tanning,
tanning beds, that's it, yeah.
and I forward that to all you guys. So.
Yep, I haven't spent much time on tanning beds, so. And it's,
Because you have agency. You can do what you want.
well, at farmers, I worked outside and I had natural. And I said that too, cause they talked about the young kid that comes in and, might be running the tanning bed, which they require, they have to be 16. And if they let somebody in there, and I said, well, can't that same kid go out and watch him on the beach and get the sun? They said the tanning bed light is so much brighter than the sun, you can ruin the eyes a lot faster. And it is the Board of Health, and they check everybody to make sure that they're safe and not cleaning and taking care of business. I thought, at first I thought it was kind of a silly notion, but that makes sense to me.
Don't Board of Health, don't they do arrest inspections and stuff like that too?
Do
Lee
we?
County?
Restaurant, yeah.
The contract with Lee County is the
Yeah.
way that. The
And
state used to
drugs.
do this, but
Yeah.
they said they can't afford it anymore.
I understand
So it's
that.
apparently not important enough for them to pay for it.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
but
the state has a habit of handing everything down to the local taxpayer.
Yeah, well. So, we probably should wait for the work session before we discuss
Yeah,
this.
that's right.
Is that the only committee we had, Bob?
Okay,
I said, was that the only committee?
that's it, I think.
Oh, fine.
I remember.
Nothing to respond, Colin?
I, had the, SEAL Advisory and Governance Board, we, approved claims and got the, amended SEAL management plan approved. Our management plan had to be updated to, include the children's health legislature passed a couple years ago. That's all I had.
I did have a rural utility service, now that you mentioned your steel, took my rooms. And, we're going to be, after this, COVID thing, there might be some shut-offs put out in some of these small communities. It's not paying for half to see it. Because we're gonna get caught up on the bill. We're giving them some time. That's all I have.
Public input. Anybody from the public would like to make any comment while this is online, you may email the Board of Supervisors at board@dmcounty.com, that's BOARD@dmcounty.com, or call 319-753-8203, extension 4, that's 319-753-8203, extension 4. We will give you 2 minutes to send that email or make that phone call before we adjourn.
And you guys got the email that I forwarded to you from Rachel from ISAC in regards to from the Iowa Supreme Court,
For their
supervisory orders.
Yes.
There's only 3 different ones that I read.
Fascinating reading.
Well, where do you think you'll enjoy your new board?
I'm looking forward to it. Thanks.
New board.
He volunteered.
I volunteered for Jared's board.
Oh, so he
Did you miss that?
no, I missed that. I didn't hear the acceptance.
Well, it's not.
Oh, you haven't made the final decision.
No, I'm mulling it over.
You haven't signed up.
I have a excellent person for him if he wants to try and talk to her.
Well, that's a,
Go with that.
if you think you can talk to her, you should ask.
I may not put her name in public just yet.
You really want me to give my husband that message?
Have at it.
What's the longest upper point gonna take?
I'd say roughly another,
2 months.
no, it won't be 2 months. I'd say roughly a month, give or take. It could be a tick shorter. They're gonna try to do the floor all at once when they get to that point. They've already got the top ready because of that subdivision, so, I can see it being about a month or a little less, assuming we don't set in and stay wet or something like that.
So they're doing the whole stretch from Irish Ridge to 61?
I wish, but no, we didn't think that we or probably couldn't afford that, so we're just doing the eastern portion there, so kind of from Sizer's subdivision up the hill and to where we stopped with our intersection work when we did Irish last time, so.
You can tell Mrs. Broker that if he doesn't get this road done, when all that traffic comes back 99 Ridge is out, gotta come by her house.
In a block or two.
It's kind of a standing joke that after we'd decided to do that and took bids on the Upper Flint Road that my wife were driving over that, she looked at me, she said, "You need to fix this road." So I said, "Yes, dear." So anyway, so they started working, what, a week ago?
Yep.
A week ago? So she came home a couple days ago and she said, "Upper Flint's closed." You can't have it both ways. With an eye, we're adjourned.
Aye.
We're adjourned.